Dissonant Harmony.
Does brand of strings matter?
Go for it.
No. Not really. So I would say it comes down a lot to personal preference. There are some strings that to me kind of sound dull. And, and I think we talked about those elixirs before. I wouldn't necessarily want to record with those, but if you're looking for a string that's going to last forever, you can do that. So it really comes down to personal preference of what you're doing it for. If you're wanting to sit down and record, just get something bright that'll show up and that you like the tone of.
For sure. I don't think the brand really matters so much. I remember a time a while ago where there were a couple companies that were buying the B grade strings and like repurposing them. So obviously avoid those. But what do you use? GHS?
I use GHS for my 7 strings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I've worked with like Ernie Ball, and actually when I was touring with like Jeff Loomis, he was the guy that turned me on to those hybrid strings.
Really?
So I mean, Ernie Ball, D'Addario, GHS, any of the bigger ones. Like you were saying, I'm not the biggest fan of the coatings.
Yeah.
If you are going to go with like those elixirs, I would definitely say the NanoWeb, because it's not as thick of a coating, and it's I just think it sounds better because of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, brand wise, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think it's more about figuring out what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah.
What gauge do you use?
It's a good question. I think I am 9s.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like the most common, obviously 9s and 10s. There's a lot of people that talk about like the bigger strings having like a bigger tone or a better tone kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that at a certain point to a certain level that's true, and then when you get past, like, you get to those really thick ones, I feel like it almost deadens it a little bit.
Yeah.
But those hybrids that I was mentioning, those go from 9s in the high end to the 10s in the bass.
Oh yeah.
And then I just depending on what tuning I'm using for my 7 string, I'll throw on, I don't know, 60 or higher, depending if I'm in drop A. I think I was using like a 66 or something like that.
I think I have an 80 on mine.
Damn.
So
yeah. I mean, you can use whatever you want.
Yeah, for that low B.
I guess one thing I will say too, just a little tagline, is if you're recording, make sure you just change them frequently.
Yeah, I've actually heard of people changing like every 20 minutes to half hour of track.
That's intense.
Yeah,
I think for me, I tend to change them, let them get stretched out. I'll record for maybe a day, and then I'll change them that night and let them stretch out overnight, kind of thing.
And that also depends on your sweat chemistry too, because if you're sweating on the string, like Loomis, where he has to take extra Floyd's with him because he sweats through them just from playing them live. So
I thought he was like joking around about that when I first met him, and then not only did I see it I think I was on tour for 2.5, maybe 3 weeks, and mine was I wish I had done that, right? Because I was already rusting away, but he changes his pretty frequently.
And you got to think that's maybe an hour a night, so that's 7 hours a day of playing, or 7 hours a week of playing, and you're rusting through stuff. So there's other things to go along with that, but if you're sweating on your strings a lot, or just even if you have a different pH balance that your strings aren't used to, you can
those acid fingers.
Yep, acid fingers.
Dissonant Harmony.